And as I mentioned earlier, I caught up with the State Premier here, Peter Malinauskas, to discuss Daniel Andrews' immigration, electricity supplies and more. Premier, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Chris.
What do you think of your former Labor Premier colleague, Daniel Andrews, turning up in Beijing?
Look, I think it's a little startling. Meeting with Xi Jinping or a senior Chinese official is not particularly unusual. Prime ministers do that on a frequent basis. They're our largest trading partner. But I think what was a bit surprising to me was being in a photo with Vladimir Putin. This is a guy that has brought war to continental Europe for the first time since World War II. He's invaded an entirely sovereign country, and tens of thousands of people have lost their lives as a result. You certainly wouldn't be catching me in a photo with Putin, that's for sure.
And Kim Jong-un and the president of Iran. This was a gathering that was really directed against Western interest, against Western democracies. Wasn't Daniel Andrews, isn't his presence there actually acting against Australia's national interest?
Well, like I said, the countries that you just listed, these are not liberal democracies in the way that we subscribe to in this country. They're a completely different value system that they've got. The most egregious of which, of course, is Putin's, given the carnage he's brought to so many people's lives around around Europe. And look, Mr. Andrews is his own private citizen now. He can speak for his own judgments. But like I said, I wouldn't have thought it's good judgment to be in the company of some of those people.
But he's a former Labor Premier. Surely he brings disservice to his political party, to the Labor movement.
Well, like I said, I don't always agree with all of my colleagues on all sides of politics. There are often points of difference, and clearly this is a pretty stark one.
Should the Prime Minister say something about this, admonish Daniel Andrews, at least speak out against it?
Well, I think Albo's values are also well known in this regard, and I'm very grateful that the Prime Minister has stood up as strongly as he has on behalf of our country to Putin in particular.
Let's go to immigration. The federal government announced the permanent migration intake for this year will be 185,000, the same level as last year.
Which is a number that's down on years before that.
Are you happy with that number? Do we need to see a decrease in immigration numbers in this country, or is that sort of level appropriate?
Well, I think we have seen a decrease in it. Well, not I think. We have seen a decrease in immigration numbers over time, and I think that's prudent given some of the challenges we've got around the country. My personal view is that skilled migration still has an important role to play within our country. We've seen a lot more value brought to Australia through migration than costs. That's self-evident. We are a migrant nation by definition. And certainly I think about it in the South Australian context, we're at full employment. There are skills gaps everywhere you look.
Doesn't that show we're stuffing up immigration though? We've had record levels of immigration, yet we've still had skills gaps. So surely we're not bringing in the right people.
Well, I think the bigger challenge we've got here is making sure that we've got adequate housing supply. And that's been my focus, right? I think Australia's got a housing supply crisis far more than it's got a migration crisis, given that the migration numbers have been coming down. And when young people feel a sense of dejection or incapacity to participate in the housing market, which is so central to our way of life in this country, then we've got a major problem. And that's where we've been all in as a state government, introducing a whole range of policy measures that the ABS now recognises as delivering the fastest housing growth in the country, and we will sustain that effort.
Now, South Australia leads the nation when it comes to renewable energy input or renewable energy share, also leads the nation in electricity prices.
Well, that's not always true, Chris. Let's be
generally true.
There have been periods where that has been true, but not so much recently. We see the DMO offers in other parts of the national electricity market.
It's still the most expensive electricity in the country.
There are other states and other jurisdictions that now have prices that exceed South Australia. But that doesn't take away from the fact that we still think that power prices are too high.
And you're just looking at extending the life of the Torrens Island gas generator. Now, doesn't this just prove the point that you can't have mainly renewables electricity grid? You need to have gas generation or coal generation to supplement it.
Well, I would challenge anybody, Chris, to find a more pro-gas jurisdiction than, or maybe Western Australia, but more pro-gas jurisdiction than South Australia, particularly in the role that gas plays in providing firming services to renewables. We have been consistent for a long period of time now, and I'm a strident advocate for gas playing a critical role in the transition. But as it stands right now, we need more gas in this country, not just for industrial purposes, but firming purposes of renewables.
South Australia, the transition though, isn't it? It needs to be there permanently for firming.
Well, the firming role, we would not be at 80% renewables in South Australia, not for gas playing a critical firming role. And we want to see more of it. We believe in it deeply. My government enjoys a really good working relationship with both Beach and Santos as the major gas producers in our state. We resisted the former Liberal government's effort in South Australia to lock up some gas reserves in South Australia. We resisted that effort when the Libs were trying to stop gas extraction in the southeast of South Australia. So we are very much a pro-gas Labor government because we know it plays such a critical role in actually the transition towards renewables.
Now, is the nuclear energy debate over in this country? I'm conscious South Australia, of course, exports uranium. You're going to be building nuclear submarines here. Yeah. Surely the potential for nuclear energy, it's not going to happen next month, next year, in the next decade probably, but is that debate over?
Well, my view has always been consistent about this. I think nuclear energy has a critical role to play in the decarbonisation of global energy markets. And that's an opportunity for South Australia, given that we are home to one of the largest economic reserves of uranium anywhere in the world. In the terms of the nuclear's role within the domestic energy market, however, I don't see anything changing until it becomes economic. And that's, for me, that's always been the clear question. It's not about safety, it's always been about the economics of it. And if nuclear technology evolves into the future that it becomes economic, then clearly that'll invite a different question. But it feels like we're a long way from that. A long way from that.
Let me ask you about a parochial issue, a South Australian issue, but should be national interest in this. And this is, of course, the Liv Golf tournament going to the North Adelaide Golf Course. Now, I used to hack around the North Adelaide Golf Course. You wouldn't find a better public course anywhere in the world, I don't think. You tee off there looking over the city. Does it surprise you that the move to upgrade that course and use it for Liv, and it'll still be a public course, is getting all sorts of opposition, including now from Indigenous interests?
No, it doesn't surprise me. Because we've seen this every time there's been a major investment like this in South Australia. There's always a coterie of people that will seek to resist it and fight it. It happened with Adelaide Oval, and now everyone claims it as a success. We even had it building a new aquatic centre in our parklands. The same will be true here. We're determined to get this done. It's actually a very modest investment in the scheme of things, and what it brings to life is this amazing golf course that is in this truly unique location. Not many other CBDs in the world have anything like it. Yeah. And all we're doing is upgrading it to make it into a world-class standard to have a international tournament on. I think it's a bit of a no-brainer. The resistance is coming. I anticipated that. We're just going to focus on getting things done.
When it comes to the Indigenous opposition to it, has your Indigenous voice, your state-based Indigenous voice, already become a rod across your own back?
No, because they haven't expressed any opposition to that. There's been members of the Kaurna community who are, I think, quite reasonably raising questions about what will happen to Aboriginal heritage if any of it is disturbed. And there is a process that is pursued under the Aboriginal Heritage Act that is well and truly in train, and that is appropriate. But as yet, the Voice hasn't expressed any opposition to the proposition.
You're not going to the footy tonight. As a Port Adelaide man, are you rooting for a Adelaide victory?
This is a trick question that's been coming my way a little bit. I want to see a great game of footy. For Tex Walker, who I quite like, I think he's a good fella. He's got his 300 games tonight. I wish him every success. But
deep down, you're going to be barracking for the black and white, aren't you?
No, look, it's good for the state of the Crows. They're up and about, right? And that's good for the state. But I don't know many two Crow supporters like you, Chris, that were barracking for Port Adelaide last.
Never. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.